俺だってこのマイナス10度のところ縮みが取れるって頑張ってんだよ。ギュッとやってみろ。必ず目標達成できる。だからこそネバーギブアップ。
Great job.
Get up and stretch, you gremlin!
I don't know, on the bottom. Allah.
You like kissing Green, don't you?
だってこのマイナス10度のところしじみが取れるって頑張ってんだよ。ギュッとやってみろ。必ず目標達成できる。だからこそネバーギブアップ。
Hello, everybody. Hello, 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 hello. I'm definitely not just now spooling up VR in general. I definitely don't need to make that playlist a lot longer. Enjoy going to the moon. I have a feeling that Freya, she might still be asleep, which is fine. Last I heard, she got like at most 4 hours. There we go. Captions. Fully prepared. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I definitely have my headset on. I definitely don't need to switch over. I definitely don't need to do anything at all. I definitely don't need to do a single thing. Fly you to the moon? That would be pretty expensive, I'm pretty sure. Considering, you know, it's based on weight and like fuel costs and rockets aren't cheap. Holly! Hello, hun! How are you? Hello! It's Holly! Yes, it's the precious bean, Holly Howells. None of my moderators are here. My sir is here, though. Okay, wonderful. All right, let's get fucking spooled up, actually. I was wholly unprepared. I don't even have my face tracking on. God. Go check Holly out. She's an amazing fucking artist. Just an amazing individual in general. She is the reason that I know who Fifum is. Like, my best friend in the whole universe ever, Filthamut. Alright. Oh, I apparently had grabbed the bench. Okay. I didn't spool up Liv. Cool. Chad, I can't see you. Don't say any curse shit, okay? Yeah. That's not cursed. Hey, Chad. Thank you for calling me cute. I appreciate it. I also definitely didn't curse stuff. No, don't say curse stuff. Also, V, welcome on in. I hope I said your name correctly. Correct me if so. Okay. Abra. You said right? Woo! Yay! I know how to pronounce things. Osby, just let's not talk about other content creators like that in my chat, please. That's more for our Polycule chat, not a public Twitch chat. Calibrate the FPT. Oh yeah. Generation Zero. I need to play that with Sochi again. Okay, why are my frames so hell? Okay. 1 second, everybody. I'm switching to my Dardo Dragon. No, I'm not. I'm switching to my Big Kitty. And then bop. Camera. Boop, boop. Bep. There we go. And then I need to get used to the drone cam. There we go. What, NATO Sochi's weapons? No, you NATO Sochi. Not Sochi's weapons. Hi. Okay. I will be occasionally checking Discord. Just to see. Oh, hi. That's the back of me. Hi. Oh. Just to see when Freya wakes up. Wait, what? Hey, there's my circles. Okay, cool. How we doing, everybody. I'm just gonna do what I usually do and to hell with this fucking drone camera. Hi! How are we doing? Thank you! My friend Tacoma Links made it. I'm glad you're doing good. This is a really early stream for me. You know, when most of your friend group is not from the United States or Canada and like is from like Europe and Germany and the UK and everywhere in between there. Huh. Okay, enjoy your work, Lark. I'm not used to the combination of being up at 2 p.m., getting enough sleep. Low ISV. Say, Osby, if you want a brat, just get in VR chat. Because heck it? Hell yeah. Alright, let's see. You're opening it as we speak? Okay. Yes, but everybody, as usual, my default VR chat rules. If I know you enough that I know you're not gonna think that saying heinous shit is funny, and that you won't do it, you can join me. Just shoot me a friend request, it's the same. Zaya isn't here, so I can't do the ceremonial, hey look, I'm Zaya bit. There we go. That's fair. That's fair. Oh, wait, I forgot a setting that you should always turn on if you're streaming. Steadicam.
Give me the goth!
You want the goth? Okay.
Give me the rocker bear.
Okay, you gotta pick one. And remember, when you spam them, other people can't use them. So maybe chill a little bit, Osby. I'm already the rocker bear, so I'll just stay the rocker bear for now, since it was the most recent one. The awkward dismount of having to talk to chat on your own. And there's Osby. Fluke Snooks! Thank you so much for the follow, hon. How are you doing? Welcome on in. I hope you enjoy your stay. Also, yesterday, we hit the good number and then immediately surpassed it. We hit 420 follows. It would have been even better if we hit it today because 621 420 on 621. Freya, hiya! Okay, good. Good. Thank you for the follow, Freya, you precious bean. She's dying.
Hello, there's a cam.
Help, I'm dying is my line. You gotta learn not to spam the redeems because other people need to be able to use them too, okay?
I wanted to see how you would react.
Big tail, yes, big tail. She has a big tail.
I don't even know is this full loose on the tail? Ah.
Hang on. Wait, let me pull out the Feynara, because I know you can make the fucking thing fucking huge. This one doesn't have the clothes on it.
Oh.
It's fine. Like it. There we go. Okay. Whoop. Already bigger than yours. It's the Feynara.
God, What, I don't have any. I don't. Mm. Oh wait, no, I've got this one. I will have
That
to turn
almost
off-
crashed me. Big old tail. Yeah.
That should turn it off. Oh wait. You. Fuck you in your.
I mean, I'm gonna grab it in a second. Jesus. Is a soundbite with a big
I'm
tail?
pretty sure you can-
Ooh. Yeah, I can. Yeah. Why you so little? Why you so small? No, that's just adorable.
I'm small.
You have-
I haven't used this avatar long, so I don't know what this looks like. Oh, that is.
Yeah, could you possibly
hell yeah.
change out of it? It's like painful to look at a bit.
Wait, but the particles are turned off. Actually, no, that's true. This thing.
Yeah, it's inverted, hun. It's inverted, hun. Alright, let's see. And freak out. God, I remember, like, this sounds weird to say, but also not, because I am the person who has the Steppies redeem and gets away with it. But I have to, like, make sure my paws are in view, because I love my fucking summoning circle redeem so, or, particle so much. Which it's not working on this foot. Ah! There we go. Tiny, little, small. Yeah. Also, everybody. Also, everybody.
Hi.
There is a new redeem, but you'll have to find it. It's the one that's 900 points. That should be a big hint. Ooh!
God damn it.
Kissing Green, don't you?
Stop! Stop! I have phantom sense. Stop it. That's fine. Ow. Fluffy Fox, welcome on in. Let me talk to chat, please. Yeah? Yeah?
Wah. Mwah.
Oh, wow. Thick Fox and cute doggo. I mean, I could give the best of both worlds. Oh, hi. I forgot I have to lock that. Hang on. I love how I said this was going to be my quote-unquote main avatar, and I've used it like twice on stream. And I'm probably never going to use it again. Well, not that makes it sound bad. I found an avatar I like better, which is the Resuium. Hi. Oh, you said thick, right? There we go. I'll be a thick cat. I can't. I have a feeling I'm about to be force-fed coffee again. But yes! How are we doing, everybody? I usually stream... Oh, you're over here. Hang on. Okay, so I have realized...
What do you think that?
Because you're bringing coffee?
Please tell me what coffees you have found that look like this.
Okay, fair.
This is like nuclear waste drink.
Yeah, that's
This is what nuclear actually looks like.
Nuka-Cola looks like piss? I mean, bark.
You know what? Yeah.
I have temperature phantom sense. Please do not do that.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, that's new.
Yes, it is. It's very new. Like maybe a few days new.
You're gonna have to explain after stream how you picked that one up.
She knows, but she just wants to hear it again. But this, hi chat, how are you? Now that I'm less distracted, how are you doing? Hi. I'm a bit discombobulated because, like I said, I usually stream like 3 hours from now. I usually go live at like 5 p.m. Eastern, so I'm just like, oh, this is very early for me. Abra. Bum ba ba da ba ba da ba ba da. How are the volume levels, by the way, everybody? I have to ask every time because last night my mic was way too loud. You could hear everything. You could even hear my collar just moving around. I got a new collar yesterday, and I love it so much. It's in my search colors and everything. Oh. Whoop. Okay, now I have to check. Let's see. Rep. Rep. It's doing the thing again. Where is OBS? There it is. Oh, hi. Hi. Hello. I gave you a nice old view, didn't I? Wowee. Okay. There we go. Okay. That's good enough. I'm not gonna touch it. I should check up. She immediately goes and touches something. I'm changing avatars before they do this. Let's fucking do some squats and some fucking petticoats. Let's fucking go. Alright. Are y'all ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. I'm gonna have to not do such deep squats next time. Owie. Sorry. That is the Verkayat is very tired sound. Well, out of breath after doing physical exercise noise. Eat! Yes, go eat, please. Everybody, if you haven't and you need to, hydrate, get something to drink, do a stretch, Get something to eat. Take your meds if you need to. Alright? Thank you. Arrah. Wait, I can't have ambient noise on. Bop, bop. Stop. There we go. Now I can turn the ambient world noise on. Wonderful. You get to hear. Ah! So loud. There we go. Oh, good. This is. Why is she bringing me some of the drinks? We're already dating. Pet the green floof? Yeah. Pets are welcome. Just full. Double fisting it. These are yellow! One of these, please. This is how a stream bit forms. I'm sorry. Yeah, please don't put cold or hot things in this area, please. Is this one even...
No, it's not.
You just gave me an empty cup?
You can't fill those up. They're just objects. Also, I've lost the lemon.
You lost the what?
I lost the lemon, so I can't put garnishes on the green drinks.
She lost the lemon. And all she has to work with is a lime. Wait, I should, social. Rep.
Up here?
There we go. How we doing, everybody? I'm actually gonna find a different world real quick. Worlds. No time to talk. What? What?
Flight Sim World, let's go and see chaos there.
Judging by how I just almost had a neck cramp, not right now. In a bit, though, yeah, for sure. Oh, well, meetup world, cuddle world, cuddle world, cuddle world, this world. Yeah, that makes sense for me.
Oh, of course, this world. I have found the majority of my worlds through you, so I can't actually suggest this shit.
Well, then most of the worlds you've... Oh, God. Hardware compatibility? Yeah, I'm going early because I'm streaming with Freya. The precious being Freya. The floof.
Who is asleep?
No, she woke up. She was in my chat. It's fine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hi. I'm annoying.
No, you're not.
We're not gonna face the truth now, let's be honest.
I'm taking you to Virtue Ferns because you need to get grabbed and thrown around a little bit.
Scusi?
Aspe, world.
Oh, if you're trying to throw me around in there, for some reason questies can't be thrown.
Damn it.
I used to visit that was the main world I visited before.
We have 18 seconds. Let's go. I didn't do anything. They make you say that now. Like, that is actually a thing you have to, like, check now or you get in trouble. And it's funny because their way of saying, hey, you're in trouble is, hey, we're gonna force this to be on your content for, like, months. And it's like... So what you're saying is you're gonna do the work for me and I'm not gonna get a strike or anything for it? Why would I do it then? There's no. I'm a brat. That's not a punishment. Hi, Talon. How you doing,
I haven't been
hon?
in this world for so long.
How you doing, hon? Boop. A bit better? I'm so glad, hon. I'm glad you're doing better. I hear bjorking. What did you change into? Oh, it's a chicken. The space chicken. I'm sorry. Hang on. So, as always, since I can't buy it yet, I'm changing into the Resume now. And then I'm changing back because the face tracking. So what you're supposed to do with face tracking is you're supposed to toggle it and then toggle it back on. I haven't been doing that. Also, hi. A lot of people say this avatar suits me. Can't imagine why.
Go.
Oh, are we doing the flying thing? Oh, that means you get to
What
see.
do you mean? I don't like that. I don't like that laugh. I don't like that laugh.
You're fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it.
I just flew into your ass by accident.
Well, hey there. How you doing, eh?
I was doing so well at hovering, and then I just immediately went.
She can't see
obviously got
this.
distracted.
She can't see this. She's gonna want to see this though.
What is it?
What the fuck?
Oh, it's that one.
Yeah, it's Terry. It's Terry. The hi. I'm definitely not questioning my gender, but no, definitely cis. Definitely that word that apparently on Twitter is now a slur. Definitely cisgender. You know, definitely cis.
Yeah. How dare you say that word? Rude word. Slur.
Definitely cis. I mean, I'm someone cis now. I don't have any relative. Stop. Stop it. We'll get Freya in here with us. Me just like, why the fuck are you in the washing machine? What the fuck am I supposed to do? That's so unrealistic. How could you get stuck in that? That's more on you than me. You cannot see the circles. You know, I'm gonna have to add one of these. But I'm gonna have to add the steppies to a avatar that's an Art Dragon that's not at risk of me showing my everything.
Show the beam. Give us the beam.
Oh, you're precious. Yeah? You're shooting me. Huh. There's a Freya.
You mean the chimkin?
You are the chicken. How can I give you you?
Give me KFC.
Chicken?
I want KFC. Like, as I said, you can't.
I
You
know!
can't pick up questions.
I know.
You can on Hideout and on Talking Joe.
I'm gonna go collect the Freya. What?
I'm gonna...
Hello, Freya. How you doing, hon? I'm gonna go over here now. She's setting up her camera, it seems. Abra, 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 abra.
How are you all doing on this lovely day? Come on.
Enjoy your BRB, maybe. Enjoy. What? How could you do this to me? It's not nap time yet. Stop rubbing my ears. It's not nap time yet. That makes me sleepy. Stop it. Arre.
Hi, I'm annoying.
You're not annoying. Stop saying that about yourself. We discussed this, okay?
It is a fact of life, I cannot deny it.
Noted. It's the sound. Arrarara.
There we go. I can move.
How you doing, eh?
Nyom.
Oh, you know what? Actually, that was more fucking hilarious.
Just like, how you doing, eh? Hops over the fucking desk. Okay, I see how it is.
Cutie.
Takes one to know one. How you doing, hon?
Bop, 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 bop. Okay, stuff is broken. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's a move.
Wait.
Time
Isn't
to
it?
fix some schmidt. Time to be a streamer. Breaking shit and fixing it.
Hell yeah. You know what? I know I gave you an auto. It's Naruto time.
Cable A. Cable B.
Oh.
Whoa!
There we go.
Hey!
Been meaning to ask, how do you feel about horror games?
I'm known for absolutely Oh.
There you go, the answer.
That would be so bad.
I'm the opposite. I cackle at them because I used to write horror.
So you're quiet
I am?
in VR. Or is it just me?
How about now?
Say something.
The words, speech, human language.
No, okay. Hello.
Greetings.
Happy Pride.
Hello, Gavini. It's not a gang.
Hello, Gov.
About what I expected for an answer. This is my answer for you,
I
hun.
just realized the hair on this.
Yeah, it's extremely like.
What? No. I changed this.
All right, Questy. She's a Questy.
Hi, I'm bad. I'm really. Well, for one,
All
we're
the
keeping
questies.
that.
Taste the Skittles.
Yep.
Taste the rainbow.
You like kissing Green, don't you?
I'm skipping. Keeping the antlers for obvious reasons.
I was not expecting that.
There we are.
So on my
Found it.
stream, I have a redeem called Kisser that I just redeemed. That's like 15 seconds long. So I was just standing there.
And then you're like, hello there. Coming over to attack.
Oh god.
Didn't know you know about that language.
Maybe. Smooches you and 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 smooches you and. Yeah?
You forgot to smooch him.
What? You were literally a different color palette. I may be an unobservant idiot, but I can tell different colors.
Polar opposites.
Hi, Skycoat. How are you doing, hon? Welcome on in.
Bunch of cuties in there.
Bunch of cuties in there too. Egg.
Fred.
I know.
Thank you for the egg.
Cute, aren't
Before
they?
anything
Yeah,
could be said.
Have you been? Map, map.
I've been very good.
Yeah. Okay, that works again. Okay, that's good to hear. Okay, hello there, Smokey. We're coming in with shooting guns blazing. Oh, okay. Good to know that this works again. Hello, Toivo. Hello, Smokey. How y'all doing?
Oh, I've been watching somebody play the Secrets of P or whatever. That sounded like a Bloodborne noise.
Fixed it.
I want to play that game. Hi.
Oh.
The chicken has a
Oh
fire
my
on.
god, that song. Yes. Snow in Sweden. Whispers. Goddamn, I love his music.
The letter P! Single letter! You goober. Thank you, baby.
Letter P.
Liza PP. Okay.
At least I'm prepared this time. I have ice cold water here now. I had 2 in the fridge that it almost freezes stuff. So I guess if I drop this, it becomes slushy.
Good. I know it's like ungodly hot in your room right now. That's my window.
I've been helping out with a sports day
Actually?
at primary school, so I've been in the sun all day.
I'm so
I
sorry.
was leaving the windows open that just one wrong wind could smash windows to pieces. But it didn't happen. And my room is at 28 Celsius as of right now. Ask me in 5 minutes again.
Oh,
My PC is going haywire.
so sorry.
It's not even the highest.
my
It's still in
IHS!
comfy temperatures right now. Just wait until it goes up to 40.
Hi Zaya, how you doing? Oh, I gotta do the bit
degree-
now. Margarita the Fox, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the follow. How are you doing?
It's a very cute fox here. Fridge full of dicks. I mean, yeah, you gotta have them stocked up, you know? You never know when something gonna happen. Also,
Hi, I'm Zaya underscore
my
Hunter.
highest temperature in my room so far was 45
You should follow me on
degrees.
Twitch. I edit the videos for Skuru. I'm a
Highest
delightful
temperature.
individual, absolutely
We
precious
got
being.
that
You should go follow me on
last year,
Twitch.
and I
That's
was doing
that's
it.
No, my bedroom, I
that's,
mean.
that's twitch.tv slash
did you
Zaya
survive
underscore
that night?
Hunter.
We don't talk about the sacrifices I had to make.
Oh no.
What? Blankets, covers, pillows.
And the thing is, back then, I slept with 3 blankets nonetheless still. In He-Town 5.
You'll see me in court, huh? I was being nice to you.
Oh no.
Hi Zaya, how you doing,
And
cutie?
then I used the lift. Also, wait, we need to pray to the sun. I forgot about that. All hail to the sun. Anyways, wrong movie genre. But yeah, back then I was used to the temperature being normal. And now, after having lived 2
What
years in
is-
Sweden,
what
where
is
it's way
normal now?
colder. Yeah, I'm not used to it anymore.
Oh no.
I'm just being a waterfall the moment I just stand still.
28 degrees.
Who are the fluffs with me? This is
No,
Osprey.
in Sweden it was cold.
This
In
precious
Sweden it
individual
was way colder.
is Flenny the Freya the Floof. Did he?
Nah, more like temperatural damage.
Get.
But yeah, in
Freya the Floof.
Sweden,
Please, moderators, could you give Freya the shout out, please? I'll court you and see? What? You know, courting me means something completely.
takes head mine now.
Courting me means something
Oh,
completely different than the legal action.
Also, everyone, there's a cutie bean. I still have most likely issues with saying your name.
A lot
gonna
of
say
people do.
word.
That's totally fine.
That is
So,
spot on.
word, cutie. Her Twitch is linked in my title, so you can
I
just
should do
go
that.
down there and give a follow.
I
I found it out through a good friend, Flair. If you just make an ad into the title and then just write it, the name you wanna have, it will make a link like that.
I'm gonna be RB.
It needs. I didn't need to have the correct name, or you just write it on Twitch itself into the title. And it will just give you, hey, that and that person you could mean, and so on, yada yada yada.
Okay. 1 second. I'm gonna be RB.
I mean, you can also do that. That is true.
I can see what you're doing
on,
in my
it's untouchable.
petticoats. Hi, how you doing? I'm looking at my computer right now.
I'm looking at that cake. Goddamn, and also that top hat I'm gonna steal.
Osby!
Mine now.
Osby! I swear. I swear.
What you gonna swear about, huh? What you gonna do?
Marre.
Boop. You wanna go, mate?
You
wanna
get
fucking
the,
go?
you get the shout out. You get a shout out.
Swear to God, yeah.
You wanna fucking go, mate?
Feel I'm being abused to be.
I am the only American here.
I
I'm
think I'm
used
the
to
only
being
German here.
And I'm the only Brit. Fucking rule Britannia.
You know, I love bullying Brits. With all them ball water.
Bottle of water. Bottle of water.
Yeah, literally.
Water.
I have a friend, he
What is
just
a tea?
instantly starts bonking the shit out of me. And I start with like, oh, you wanna have some bottled water, mate?
You know what? In
What?
true British I should probably commit to the bit.
Oh no, no, no! Please, no imperialism.
Commit to the bit. Songs that you will enjoy your stay.
Commit to the bit.
Hello and welcome in.
Commit to the bread.
How's your day been so far?
Commit to the bit.
Oh,
You're
knives!
the only
I
German
see.
there. Don't worry, you'll have an American in you.
Commit to the bit.
So what, Bap the Osprey? I've been.
No, no. Deep fat frying.
Dude!
Wow. Okay.
Wait, what?
Fucking
Whoa.
dude, mate.
Somebody... I think you managed to pick me up.
I
and
see
have
it.
no
Like,
idea
you
how.
have the permission to bonk the shit out of him.
Stop
Oh,
me.
it's a space burp. It's time to eat.
I can't grab you. I'm
I'm gonna
sorry.
put on a deep fryer.
Wait, hang on. Prime time. Ooh, door. No, avatar pickup's on. I just can't grab you.
Nice.
That's
You gonna cut wood with that, or?
Osprey, this is gonna sound a bit sus, but I need you to have an avatar that has bigger hips for a moment, please.
You should not have asked.
No, I know what I
Oh
do.
god, here we come. Welcome to the hip apocalypse, or the thick thighs club, hey? I'm
You
half
should
tempted to
not-
do
have I
something.
still have it. I still have it.
Oh, no.
You should not have asked. You should not have asked.
Nope, I can't grab you. Okay.
Wait, do I have it turned on?
Jesus!
Did you eat to get those?
Jesus, that
What did you eat
ass!
to get those cakes?
I don't know, but I want to
Could
know
you,
because
You
Shut
are
up.
you were wearing that apron and a G-string and nothing else, hon.
yeah, I know. I'm changing out very quickly.
That's a different website, okay?
No, I can just wear an incredibly
I mean,
a dress that you don't want to.
A lot of
slip.
people already did it
Let's
on
say.
Twitch, and they got away with only 3 days. But then again,
I literally
they were
was,
women and they made
on
IRL
Twitch once.
streams.
I was on
and they
Twitch
got a
once,
shit
and
out
you
of
know
money.
the recommended list where it will show like 3 who are
Have
very
there any
clearly
beans
recommended,
here?
and then
Oh, yeah.
one really out
Yeah,
of pocket one.
Plenty. Beans.
Beans.
Hello.
Beans. Ah, shit, fuck.
You know how you know how you do it if you want to show them down beans? You take the camera, you
grab
go
them by the-
down, and then you go like this.
Oh, I do it much more aggressively.
You do the hello.
Mash the camera.
Maybe I didn't
Smash it.
fall,
I just realized
so I'll say yes, I
stomp it
won't
and you're
fall.
doing that.
That's interesting. So this setting
Don't
doesn't
realize
work
you-
right now.
You cannot. You
really want
literally
to go-
curb stomp the
Hello.
camera.
Yeah? Yeah?
Exactly.
And they get away with it.
dark. Mm-hmm. Very dark.
Somehow,
Very
I
cute.
don't want to know how much
Pet
money on
must give
camera you
gold.
wasted in VR chat.
Give gold.
How much money I've wasted in VR chat? None.
On camera, on replacement camera.
You like kissing green, don't you?
Don't ya? Thank you so much for the follow, hon. Welcome on in. I have a feeling that is going to be my new most popular redeem.
You mean the
Is it?
The kisser. Yeah.
boy kisser?
You
Oh,
like
no, I put
kissing
my own-
green, don't you?
I did an AI thing like the Uber Duck thing, and it's Alan Wake saying, "You like kissing Green, don't you?"
You like kissing green.
Shit, then goddamn fuck.
Oh.
Hi, chat.
Oh, Jesus.
Why does Zach have a 4-minute cooldown?
Oh, no. I wish I could film that.
It's on a stream. You can clip it.
We have two
You could-
streams running here.
Oh yeah, that's literally by Sergal Mal, maybe. Like, actually, that's Mal Schmidt. You know, yeah.
Give me the prep.
The prep? Okay, you want the prep? Okay, I see how it is.
Get up and
I
stretch,
don't
you
know why I'm
gremlin.
using that, 'cause I can't actually see any
The
of
prep. Wait, you just noticed what? Why is one of the categories vor? Because clickbait!
Because.
And also because.
No, I mean, for me, it's more than just clickbait and because.
I mean, same, but.
Oh, well, anyways.
Tilde.
I blame a schneck for this, okay? God damn.
I blame my formative
Always
years.
For me,
Hi.
it was a schneck who corrupted me.
I can blame that one.
Hi.
Can blame this one.
Yeah.
I would also
Yeah.
blame this one.
Hi.
I just, you know, like for a few days, I'm just gonna blame them for everything that happens.
Yeah, you can blame for a lot of things.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, even you can especially blame this one for wanting to kiss some green.
You're like that. I swear to.
Can
Oh
someone
my-
please type in exclamation point defenestrate into my chat, please? Extreme Metal God, hello! How are
please-
you? I'm
Can we
doing great.
Please,
How
can
are
we
you?
please get an audio clip of Freya and replace the computer generated with an audio of Freya? Because then it would just be abused every 4 minutes.
Then you're gonna have this been melting 24/7. I tell you that much. Isn't it?
Why do you think I suggested that?
Oh.
Can somebody please type in exclamation point bottom 2 into the chat, please? Please, it's very appropriate. Thank you.
Wait, where's my water? Water. Where did you go? There we go. I found the water.
Don't actually have.
I'm
any
going to
water,
walk dog.
shit.
I'll be back in a bit. Yeah, no worries. See you in a bit.
Why did nothing happen? One,
Enjoy
because
the
it's on a
walk.
timer, and 2, because it has to be the number 2, not the spelling 2. Yeah, it's context. Hi, it's not that time yet.
Huh?
It's Phantom Sense on the
Time
ears.
of,
Phantom Sense on my ears makes me really sleepy. That's all it is.
you mean like this? Nom 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 nom.
That's.
Hi, Chad. How are you? I just stepped on a VCR.
We've been meaning to contact you regarding.
Stop it!
Come to talk about your car's extended warranty. Waited for enough time yet. I mean, at least I don't fucking smash in the fucking window of the car when I talk to them.
Oh, sorry, that is one of the best memes ever. Don't lie.
Just fucking smashes in that fucking window. I wanted to talk about
I
your car's
watched that.
extended warranty.
I watched that an inappropriate.
Hey,
amount of
Zaya,
times,
I'm gonna
and
have to
it's
become you
still
again. I'm sorry. You're the only avatar I have that has a baseball bat. Hi, I'm Zaya_Hunter. I edit videos for Skuru. You should follow me on Twitch. I'm a precious individual. We've been meaning to contact. Get out
Why
of
do
the
I-
way.
I was gonna
We've
say,
been
I'm
meaning
wondering
to
if it's
contact you
about
about
going.
your car's extended warranty. Hi, I also grabbed you. That was hi, hello, hi. Hi, I'm gonna get small now.
Task failed successfully, eh?
Yeah. Why do I feel like this was a mistake? Because it was.
It was a
Hi.
mistake to come here. Hello there, little one.
I could keep asking sus questions, but I don't know if this stream is appropriate for it or not. What kind of
Thank you for
question?
the follow, Phoenix Firewolf.
You had to click
You
it.
will enjoy your stay and
Because of the new
that you
thing
have
you
a
have to do
wonderful day so far.
in the fucking dashboard now, you had to click through a content warning that said profanity and sexual content. So,
wait, really?
yeah, you'll get in trouble,
Oh
quote
god,
unquote.
that means
Yeah,
Jesus still make stuff. Oh no,
It's-
I don't want to be.
it's literally just a thing that you add on it. Well, I don't have an 18 plus tag. I super should because my streams are 18 plus, and if you're under 18, technically you shouldn't be here.
I mean,
So if you are,
I have made
Don't call
it.
yeah, yeah, mine should be marked 18 plus for
I
sure.
have-
It has been for ages.
Mine is also marked, but where the fuck do you find this shit?
It's at the very bottom of like the stream information thing, or like on the dashboard. Yeah, it's like the content tags or whatever.
Dashboard I am. Settings?
True. Okay.
Channel?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Let me see. Blah, 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 blah. So in OBS, if you scroll all the way down on the stream information, if you it's select content labels, content classification. It should be under the language. Egg.
Huh?
Yeah.
Obvious.
Yeah. Thank you for the egg and the hydrate at the same time. I don't know what that means.
Wait, there's a tag for intoxication?
Yeah, for like
Excessive tobacco use?
And the funny thing is, they said the punishment is, oh, we'll just force tag your stream for this for months. And I'm like, so you're saying me as a brat, you're asking me to do something for you that if I misbehave enough, you'll do it for me? Okay. Sounds like a bad plan, but okay.
So wait, sexualized physical activities.
Like
So
hot
they're
tub
allowing
streams,
finally
yeah.
some other stuff?
I don't.
Ah.
Yeah, hot tub streams. They clarified it in typical
I think
horrible
that
Twitch
was
fashion.
not as
I was wondering what that
Notifications.
notification earlier was.
Osprey
I mean, I
has a
guess-
passive cute
well,
buff.
I mean-
Yeah, she's always cute, but she's being cuter than usual. Hi, how are you?
Wait. What?
Ah,
You're being cute.
Hello, sir.
Ah, pathetic.
The dicks are attacking. I must need to put them in my fridge though. To keep them cool because it's fucking hot in here. Might be because
Self.
of me. I don't know.
Hello, hun. How are you doing, hun?
Thank you for the follow,
Feel free to
Austin.
join if you wish. So,
Hope you had a wonderful day so far and welcome in. Hope you enjoy your stay. Hello. Do you know how to disarm a word bomb? Ethan.
Damn.
That's not.
Just there.
Thank you for the follow, PXEN, too. You hope that you will enjoy your stay here. No, and welcome in. How was your day so far? So many follows. Where do you all come from? So many
Where did you
cuties.
go?
Where do you come from? Where did you go? Motion.
grab your face.
Damn it. Also, you.
Is how.
Do you know how to disable a word bomb?
You
You go to the E and go like,
you can't. Two,
kissing boys, don't you?
you like that group. This is true, but to
You
be
know what?
honest,
Redeem
if
the
you
type
use
then.
your damn whispering voice, you could probably disable a lot of things. I know.
I
Or
I know
activate
how
a
to
lot
disable
more.
this
Christ.
speed.
Yeah, or activate a
I
lot
know how to
more.
disable the spin different ways. It's okay. I know how to disable the spin in different ways that are not stream appropriate. Okay, let's just keep it that way. Pretty good. How are you?
I know the things I've
amazing. Slightly getting cooked over here, but doing good nonetheless. It's like what?
Preheat.
What is it at this
Preheat
point?
the oven to 40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, literally. I have been streaming for like what now? 35 minutes, and my room went from 28 to 31 Celsius already.
Your shit crashed hard and it's looking to be API. Let me talk. I'm talking to chat.
Thank you for the follow, Alex,
Uh,
aka Berserker. If
you're
you
giving
want
us
to
a
enjoy
snippet,
stay here.
right?
Hello.
Ah,
Welcome
yeah.
in, welcome in. How's your day been so far?
Also, moderators, could you give Freya the Floof, Sav the Dire Wolf, could you give them shoutouts, please? And any other streamers that are in my chat, out yourselves right now so we can shout you out.
Out yourself. Come out. Oh, we have ways to find you.
Show me your content.
I can read your mind. Oh, people shooting.
You have no idea what that
getting
looks
hot in
like
here.
from this view. It probably makes.
There's been
perfect
good,
sense on
just
your
got
streams,
home
but it's just
from-
you guys going.
Did you just shout me out? Honey, did you just shout myself out in my own chat? God damn it. There's been good, but just got home from work. Oh, so it's time to relax.
Enjoy rest.
People shooting.
How is this one
God
medium
damn it.
rated? I have to reset it every time. Why? Like, actually.
Is Seth online?
She's giving her setup a VR break because API issues apparently made it crash, like hard crash.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
everyone's online.
Everybody's online? Well,
It's an angel. It's an angel.
Sorry, streaming.
You see, this bean, you must boop. Value.
That's Orin. Fluff object.
Attack with boobs. I shall drink something quick. Yes. Also, hello, Osprey.
Hi.
That's that's
Can't
her.
relax here with word. Word time is not relaxing time. Oh, just you wait. I'll train this bean to be relaxing.
Okay.
If you want.
Hi.
I can't reach my water.
There we go.
A bottle of water.
Water.
Bottle of water.
What Q
Oh,
WWQE? Welcome on in. Thank you so much for the follow. How are you doing? And the howl? I've heard your howl. It's a good howl.
And I didn't even.
Oh, I'm saving up
Fuck.
to redeem that again.
There it is. Wait. Is my face tracking broken? No, I just had it in the wrong place.
And I just realized my filter is so strong it fucking cut it out of the stream.
I heard a good bit of it, but yeah, the end part of it was cut off. Hi.
No, for my stream, mostly everything was cut off. I need to. Technically, I need to redo this because it did not work.
Apollo? Yeah, I'm
People are
probably
shooting
gonna
at
go
me
with Apollo.
constantly now.
Welcome on in, Apollo. How are you doing, hon?
Actually,
Oh,
let me
you
quick
told me.
fix the settings so
I mean, my name is Ver Kayet, and this delightful individual here is German, and I basically spelled my name the worst possible way for German pronunciation.
Yeah, I gotta tell you guys. Wordkette.
Kayet. Oh god. I mean,
Hello,
someone
NG. How you doing?
thought I was a
Hello,
cat
sister.
because they thought I was spelling out cat and
I mean, I didn't say cat. I said
Chains in German.
Hi, Osby.
But then again, maybe that works too, huh?
What?
Chains.
Chains?
Ah!
People shooting that.
Also, yes, everybody. I say that and Tabby gets into bed. Tabby has... Basically, if I know you well enough that you're not gonna say heinous shit that'll get me banned on Twitch, that I'm not gonna say, you can join me.
Fuck.
Having a little bit of a firefight over there.
Stop jump scaring me with dicks, you know? I don't mind seeing them from time to time. You don't need to push them every 5 minutes in my face. Or in my ears, I guess, at this point.
Why are you licking the back of chat?
Why are we not...
Hi, chat. Hi,
Bully them
how are
through.
you? How are you doing? Hi, how are you? Hi, hello, hi.
We enjoy fucking with you, Freya.
Hi.
Fluffy just said, Osprey,
Say
stop.
so much for that.
Osprey,
Just remain silent.
stop tasting my chat. They've asked you to stop.
Also, if you guys keep on shooting, I will not be jump scaring anymore. Because after a while, I'll just get used to it.
You do realize that the microphone is on my chest, right? Don't.
What is on your chest?
I'm not.
My microphone.
I'm not. Tell us. Go on. Say it again.
The microphone is on my chest. Don't.
Hello? Chest down there?
Why would I do?
Microphone, are you
Why
here?
would I do such a thing like that? What?
Maybe because we're dating. Oh, hi, I've been
How you
replaced.
guys doing?
Hi.
This is
Get out
my
of the way,
stream
this is
now.
our stream
Welcome
now.
to Freya.com.
Fuck yeah! No responsibilities!
You forgot Santa like cat.
And a nice thick chest it is, thank
Also,
you.
eat a potato at every
I had to
single one
take
of you.
so much estrogen.
Ba, 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 ba.
Hi, Aru.
Ba, ba.
Hello. Hello. You're so quiet. Why? I have no idea.
I turn you up.
There we are. I turned you up to 150 and you're fine.
Why do you guys eat yourself out of the window constantly? Jesus Christ. I mean, at least I put a trampoline down there, but... Jesus. This is the second eat out of the window, I think, today.
Wait. Rauru,
see
I
a
have
deal
a
with
very
handlebars,
strange
yes.
request.
You take those handlebars and you handle them, you know? Ah, wait, sorry, wrong handlebars. Hello. There we go. Now
May
we have
I
handlebars.
grab you and
take them
throw you,
and
please?
handle yourself up and down.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. There you go. Okay, this
When
is
you
what.
mistake
Look, I'm
an
about.
angel dragon with handlebars.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Bye, Toby.
Oh god. Hi. So, chat, when I ask for you to throw me in other people's chats, that's what I mean.
Around.
Is your Rauru? Yeah. Hi. Yeah.
For fuck's sake. Anyways.
Oh. Woo! Hi, chat. I don't get motion sick. That's... The world does that, okay. I'm up here now. Wait! I've seen vlogs filmed here that have fursuits in them. I'm gonna explore. Can't double jump. Ooh, it's purple. Yeah? Yeah? Throw the verkayat. She'll bounce, don't worry. The goat-headed butted you off a cliff? Yeah, that's... There we go. How are we doing, everybody? I'm up here now. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe? I'm safe. Hi, how are we doing? I'm in danger. I'll see you guys, everybody. Freya is absolutely precious. Give that precious being a follow. And a subscription if you feel like it.
How the fuck are you there? Storm the castle!
I'm no longer safe.
Hello there.
Hello! How you
Hiya.
doing?
How you doing?
What's up, Gav?
I'm good. Time to eat the camera. Hello.
Poor chat has been bored like 3 or 4 times.
I will make it 50.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Yeah? Where did you go? Ah. Oh god.
Where do you come from? Where did you go?
Where did you go?
Are you sure you wanna dab? Because then I will eat you.
Deb me.
Then throw me! Throw me! Just throw me! I literally ask my chat for it all the time.
You flew against my camera and got stuck.
performance from
Jesus
Freya?
Christ, my camera is strong.
Stop eating it!
Oh. Oh.
You're bread? Oh. Hi. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here.
It doesn't work. It's a quest.
Yeah, I know. Hang on.
It's.
You know, I do have phantom sense. Just to let you know.
I'm trying. This thing is hard to fly backwards because this is the only Avali that can fly backwards.
The living being is hard to pilot? I would hope so. Hi, Tabby. How you doing? Hang on. I'm testing flight. Where's my bird?
Oh yeah, nothing's physical for me either.
The true quest was the quest to get a better headset to the quest.
Oh, I've been lifted.
The Quest 3's coming out, and I don't think I've heard a single person hyped.
Oh, I'm being stolen. Okay, bye.
You're mine now. We can have soft tacos later.
You know, we call theft of a
It's not okay.
kidnapping when it's a serious crime.
Identity theft is a serious. Identity theft is a serious crime, Jim.
Whee! Stomp.
The crime. What crime?
Identity theft. Hi. How are you?
Hi.
Oh.
Yeah?
I haven't even done anything yet.
I'm just gonna, you know.
Yeah, you're gonna what?
Tell us the
You're
ways
gonna ascend?
to heaven, I suppose.
Fate accepted? Hi, you figured me out! That's like my motto. I accept my fate. Oh, that's right. They put the hypno shader on these glasses. The pretty one. It's not like. Oh.
It's not really hypno. It looks like more like a galaxy. Me like.
Yeah.
Or like smoke, I suppose.
Yeah. I could send you the link to the shader. I like it. It's also. It's the same shader I use to do.
Huh?
Where is it? Where is it?
Another follow. Where do you guys come from?
Hey!
Where do you go?
Jesus. Hello, Engineer Gaming. Hope that you will enjoy your stay. Hello.
Can't show that one on stream. Never mind. That is the wrong avatar. Not that.
One, huh?
Well, I mean, I could show.
This is the
No,
last
no,
day
I
of the Verkai hit.
I
no.
could show it. It's a muzzle. It's a muzzle. That's what it is. It's a muzzle. Hi. I also use different.
Death What? Oh wait, isn't that from? Wait, do I remember this correctly? Wasn't this?
Hello, PC.
PC? Work? PC? Okay, my PC doesn't want to work with me.
Wait, actually, I'm gonna show this one off because I textured it myself and everything.
If I remember correctly,
Let me spin
when
myself
does the-
around and make sure. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
There we go. Hi. I did this texturing myself, actually.
Oh, this game really. There's so many cameras.
Hi. I'm a substance pain of Gremlin. Can I help you?
You know.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking correctly.
I can tell you to
Yeah,
behave.
okay, yeah, I just looked it up quickly, so I knew if it was correctly. I've not
I know you
really
can,
been
I'm
a fan of Warhammer.
waiting.
I guess I have some games, but I've never really been a fan of it.
Behave, please.
Or at least I never was able to grab my attention. Let's say it this way.
Then again, games grabbing attention of a person who has ADHD is quite hard nonetheless.
That's a fucking mode. Oh wait, no, this is the wrong version of this Naruto.
Wait, were you naked?
No, just the wrong clothes.
Yeah, no.
This one.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Ah,
Yeah.
those horns remind me of my own. I can show you my own Avi in that matter.
Please do. Ooh, very nice. Very, very nice. Hello.
This is Ruby.
One of my two Sonas.
Oh.
my goodness, they are stunning.
Also, thank you for the follow, 1QWWQE.
Welcome in.
Cheese.
Hope that you will enjoy your stay. How was your day so
Hi,
far?
hon. Do you want some headbats? Sorry, I got a bit
The
close.
green one.
Would you like some
yeah,
headbats?
that close on.
And then again, they're at first, so they never really make it.
Yes.
There you go.
Good fire.
Golden sparkly, yeah.
Hey, the Searchel.
There you
We
go.
need to get some cheese for this one to trap them.
Oh no.
Why is always the cheese gone?
Now there's two of them. Yeah. Yeah? Yeah, what? What? Yeah? What? What? Yeah, what? Yeah, you could grab it. You could pull it too.
I'm already pulling it.
Oh.
Oh, that's interesting design.
Yeah, it's a Martin, it's a martingale. Yeah, I could, yeah. Hi, Sav. Yeah, hi. Hi.
Of course you have one like that.
God damn it.
You can call me Apollo. Okay, I will try to remember that. Very certified cutie. What the what?
Aw.
You are a cutie. But yeah.
I will fucking trap.
Yeah? Prolonged eye contact. Hi.
Anyways. The fact that denying the adorableness of the dragon. Bah. Just you wait until I have my own.
Your own what?
My own fucking car, mate.
Your own color? I have like two. I have two. Sav,
some
no!
point
Don't
I'll also
give them
have one.
direction! Wait. Hold still. Thank you, Sav.
You didn't hit the spot. But please don't do, I will fall backwards.
You say as I'm running into my door?
Also, so this was one of
You like
Personas.
kissing green, don't
Then
you?
I have this one, which is the oldest one of Diamond.
Precious! Oh my god! Absolutely precious. Oh my
And
god.
then I tried getting her into a complete custom one, which does not work. It needs to be fixed. And that would be this her.
Great job.
Hi!
I really love that black sun, by the way.
I'm gonna try something. Hang on.
What? Snowfox, what are you doing? What are you planning?
Do I
Two
still
things,
have
don't
any?
make me do a poll. And second, yes, a caller is soon incoming. You know, I told my floof that I would love a collar which has like belts on it, and in the black it has like some two specific things on the one on the outside, one on the inside, specific things, you know. So if you're really gonna get me a collar, hun, don't forget the
Get up and
belt.
stretch, you gremlin.
I'm about to try something, and I may immediately have to switch back, but let's see.
Also, do you guys want to see a disco ball?
I'm okay.
It was a fuck up of my avatar creations. Here we go, disco ball outer.
Look into the eyes.
Sparkles. Hi, chat. A lot of you are probably like, "Wait, what the fuck? She's in that avatar and she's okay."
Yeah, I'm thinking that.
Yeah, same. Don't use the name, but
And then we have my
apparently the avatar's
Rex, which
fine.
also needs a rework.
For obvious reasons, yeah.
Ooh, sparkly. So I guess I could use this
Look
character
at these
again,
colors.
kind of. Ooh.
Are you just gonna
coffee.
use the character but call
Wait, do
it-
you have ADHD?
Yeah,
I might
so
have
you're gonna
I
create
might have
new
a
name?
distraction for you.
Sorry, chat. My chat's like,
Yeah,
oh,
you
this
see?
is. Yeah, I have a lot of things. My chat's just like probably freaking
Okay.
out right now because you know, understand. This is the character I had during the subathon that basically got tied to a trauma response, and it seems that that trauma response is no longer tied to it. So that is a very good thing.
Hey,
Are you gonna create a new name for it though, or is it still gonna go under
I'm definitely gonna have to create. The name still stings like shit. Yeah. Ooh, hello.
Lord.
Hello. Wow.
No.
I'm gonna change
Power
back
at the
though,
fingertips.
because I'm.
I mean, then there's also this one. Watch out for this one. You know, if somebody really wants to piss me off.
Please.
Wow. Okay, Osprey.
Hey, but you. Yeah,
Me?
you.
Yes, me. Yes. I'm upset that my brain was like.
Oh.
Hi. I do in fact have
I hate the
ADHD.
delay. I hate the delay, so I just heard you laugh, and the second you stopped,
Yeah.
I just heard, oh, that makes me go.
Still
in
don't
the
still
background.
don't use the old name, but apparently the character itself is fine, which is good because I adore that character.
Hey,
Vert, time to get trapped, eh?
I am glad you were somehow able to use this character.
Same.
I wasn't ever
Same.
expecting to see it again.
Same.
oh, you didn't even. You have not followed yet? Thank you for the follow, Seth.
I mean, you know who this grumpy bitch is, right?
There we go.
I know it, but I don't know the name.
It's a military rank.
There are so fucking many.
Her name is Sardin.
Time to. Time
what?
to, you know,
Sardent.
get all those ADHD cuties lost in this.
You
know.
Saying the dessert is fine as long as like it's not like referring to me. I guess. I'm fuck it. Fuck it. The character's name is Cappuccino now. I don't fucking care. Hi. How are you?
Cup of tea.
Oh, hello there, latte.
No, there's already so many
hey.
lattes in content. That's latte as well. Turn around, look.
This character is named
No, that's
Latte.
macchiato.
No, that's latte. That's character actually named Latte. Yeah. Very pretty circle.
You have no idea. Before I ended up
Oh,
having
there's
like, a
another
weird
one.
break up with somebody, and then ended up moving away from.
I mean, normally I'm not
I
into
was
the-
going to create my first Sona was going to be in a Avali. called
Normally, I'm
Latte.
not in this, Avi.
Call me Kappa, see what happens. I'll probably just cackle at it.
Oh, look
But
at you.
Normally I'm not in
mocker.
this RV.
Normally, I'm not in this Avi
What?
because it has a reason. Because normally that is the Avi one of my personalities prefers most,
Ah,
and has a chance
okay.
to trigger them out.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And yeah, I would like to not have any headaches because they cause a lot of them.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Floof.
Fluff.
Also, I can do this.
The word vanilla
You ready, guys?
cannot possibly ever be applied to me as a person. I am sorry.
What?
Look, it's the strawberries and cream frappuccino.
You might not want to stand there.
Why am I gonna die?
You not see it?
I see the fireworks, but they're
Right.
up there.
I'm seeing a small anime girl waving her finger around.
Well, you're also a quest
Tiny small.
Oh, I heard.
I know.
That's a big sword. Oh.
I mean, then we also have this one. Say hi to Bowser.
We're gonna get along just fine.
That was a cackle and a half.
Yes, it was.
We also have the mountains, you know. When you really need the mountains, but you can't get them, they come out of the ground.
We're gonna get along just fine.
Hi, buddy. Just like
If
this
this thing-
charge.
If this thing was EverQuest compatible, it would literally crash me to hell. Oh my god.
Yeah? Yeah, we're gonna get along just fine.
It's like every Quest Crasher avatar. It's beautiful.
This is a negligent discharge. It happens all the time.
No, no. It's not a quest crasher.
Yeah,
This
no,
one is
'cause
just
it's not Quest
adorable.
compatible.
That's so precious. Oh my god!
Oh,
You see the big gold
my.
antlers, don't you?
That was the first thing I noticed.
I
Of
know.
course I did.
I know
Like,
you
if-
well,
if-
hun.
That is what I wanted Osprey's antlers to look like.
Hey, partner, look.
Clutch Canuck, thank you so much for the follow. How are you doing? How are you doing, hon? Welcome on in.
Now there's two of us.
Just the two of us.
Welcome to the party. Come with us along.
Hang on. Wait, where's Mashka?
We'll show you where we go soon. If I wanna be up my
One sec.
Yeah? What was it? What? I just
My
looked
car
at you.
coaster.
I just looked at. I just looked at you. What?
I need to. I have. Yeah, I'm currently looking at Hellhound.
Oh no, you're not.
Just for a step.
How old is
Hey,
that
you.
one? I've not ever seen that
Ethan.
one before. Hi.
You haven't seen Mashka? You've seen Mashka, but more in like Blender renders and shit.
I've.
You have 5 seconds.
What?
Maybe you know what I mean.
No, I really don't.
4,
Remember what you talked about earlier?
3,
3,
2,
2,
1.
What?
1.
I'm gonna.
What did you want? Remember.
Oh.
I don't. I honestly don't.
Sorry,
Hi.
cloning is over.
Hi.
Oh, I clicked on you to see if that was possible, and it was off the entire time.
You had 5 seconds.
Yeah. It was off the entire
Now
time.
it's
'cause
on
I
again.
was wondering whether. And now I'm not
There you
passing up
go.
that opportunity.
Christmas in June. That's what month it is.
It's 4 now. We are multiplying. Who was pregnant?
Me. Me. for
Stop.
reasons.
Cease. Desist. Stop it.
Hey,
I asked you to behave.
You.
So hi.
Vert.
Hi. Yes. Hi.
How about you were?
No, I'm not into that. Well,
You don't want children?
Don't.
no,
don't say that.
I
That
most,
is a
I
lie.
most certainly
That is
do
a
not
lie.
want children.
is
That
a
is very
lie.
accurately. When the White Dwarf girl says no, her name is Mashka, not Moscow. Difference, big
Wow,
difference.
hold up. That's a difference.
Yeah, there's a big old difference. This
So-
character.
Yes.
A strange combination
Oh,
of summer and
she's the
winter.
only-
We could call it swinter.
This is a very
Oh,
cute,
wait.
adorable.
Yeah, the TTS turns a lot of shit at the show. That is absolutely precious. Oh my god.
I.
Boy,
Hi.
you guys spoiled this cutie.
Oh, I've been grabbed. Oh no.
Yeah, I'll turn myself on mute.
Yeah, what, are you bench pressing me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Chad. How's your Wednesday going?
No, no.
this laugh fits this character's. Hey! And there go my ankles.
Listen, I control.
Chest press? No. No, they're there.
Wish your world implodes. And tonight we'll sing wonderful. The habits lead to late nights ending alone. Conversations with a stranger I barely know. Last but it probably won't. Nothing left to use or lose. Hello.
Hi.
Kissing Green, don't you?
I've joined you for your car's extended warranty. You have been
God
late
damn
for
it!
time for this one.
No! You may be
We
entitled
got
to.
your ears. We're
Wait.
owning this body until you paid for your insurance. What?
Pardon?
Yeah, Figer, what's
the car's
up?
extended
Hi.
warranty goes a bit beyond a warranty.
What do
We
you
claim this body until you can pay us for with your insurance.
What do you mean I have you there? What? You redeemed Kisser? Oh.
No money? No problem. Become ours. Become our property.
And your debt is paid.
Yeah. Arre.
Right? What is that? You won't need those anymore.
You say that to the streamer who literally has an owner, so.
I had two mistresses, so.
It said no and you had to click? Well, yeah. Do you think I was gonna give context for my redeems and not just say they're a new redeem? Where's the fun in that?
You know, the fun is in not telling anything, having the room fucking dark and losing tracking, and numbing the camera. There we go. It shall be liked, they said. You know, there's a German joke I could make right now, but it would not be stream appropriate. Like all German things, more or less.
Where did Osprey go?
Literally, yeah?
There she is!
This. You know, our stories we tell our children in every other country would be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like in every other country, it would be horror stories. For us, it's children's stories.
Hi.
But
You have
actually,
no
I
idea
think-
how
wasn't it
much
like
I want to
literally
grab
not-
those, by the way.
Do it.
Wasn't there like not a? I think there was one story. About,
Don't call me that.
I think there was one story.
Huh?
Coward. Not a good
What
word
do
to
you
use
meant
with
in
me. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. There's one story I think that goes about children getting kidnapped or so by an owl. It's not behaving and so on. Yeah. Children's stories in Germany go fucking wild.
Oh.
They do.
Come here, come here, come here.
What's
come
the
here. You asked for
what's
it,
the one
yeah?
that's like the opposite of Santa Claus? That one.
Han.
I don't know.
Han.
Begins with a K.
What is it?
and
Do
then
you mean?
it's-
Do you mean the one where if you were bad, he will steal you and put you in your factory?
Yes.
In his factory?
Krampus.
Yeah.
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 Yeah?
Then there's also the
Oh, hi,
story
chat.
that if you are a child and you. Then there's also this thing about if you're outside in the dark, someone will come and steal you away. And you won't see him coming and something like that. Children get told. So they should never go outside in the dark.
Oh, that's just Appalachia.
Alone.
You purr. You purr.
No.
What?
There, in Germany, it's called the Dark Man or something like that.
What are you doing?
You know.
Oh. What?
Wait, what is gonna nutting? What? Did you just say you're gonna nut?
No.
I'm
I
just-
said you know.
Maybe. Maybe. Hun. Hun. My avatar's eyeline is right here. You were rubbing down here. That's what
Right.
yeah, that you were rubbing down here.
I was there.
Oh. Okay, you're good then.
Well, I guess it's time for the
Why was
snoo
I-
snoo.
You're on
What?
stream, why would
I don't know. That's why I was so surprised. And she Deactivates. Okay.
You mean like that?
Ah, right. Sorry, it was this.
I'm going to
before I
fall
change
over.
my to favorite. this.
I'm going to fall over. Please, I'm actually going to fall over. Thank you.
You know they're just gonna hold you then like that. Then you're not gonna fall over.
I forget you also have Phantom Sense, you know. Oh, it's the Rezer! No.
Oh, it's getting frisky down here.
Hun.
You know what they're saying? Fun time is fun time, eh?
I mean, I guess y'all are determined to make me fall over,
You
so I
gotta,
might as
no,
well.
no. You know, you gotta just bully that Phantom Sense like this.
Don't, because that's bullying me.
I'm gonna go AFK.
Did you know that I love teasing people?
Yes. Yes, I was aware.
an opportunity to read, and
Overwhelm the Vera with affection? Why? What are you planning? Hang on. Don't look, I'm recalibrating. Why not? I didn't say no. I just said why. Oh. I asked why. Valid option. Reason? What? Hello. Hi. But yes, everybody. Freya is absolutely precious. Go give her a follow. Hi. Okay, now where's my fucking bed? Enjoy your work, look. Oh, look at my eyes. Hi. Wait, where is my bed? It's darkness in a dark void. There it is! I found it! I screamed and it screamed back. The stories were incorrect. Grabs you. Arrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr Yeah, with her, eh? Should probably be a questy one, to be honest. I don't have that many of those. Hang on. Yes, I do. Shapes. Reshaping. Oh no, those are just on. Okay, cool. Abra. At least I'll be able to see. Ah. Awa. Wa. Face tracking on. There we go. Okay. Join me as I get comfortable. That's my cable. Hi. Is it nap time? Not yet.
Greetings.
Hi, what's up? I'm coming back. I'm coming back. Give me a second to get situated. It's not nap time. It's not nap time. It's not nap time. You're petting my ears. It's gonna be nap time if you don't stop.
Oh, what a shame.
Hello.
Hi. How you doing?
I don't know. Preparing for Christmas.
Yeah. Oh hi. I've been. Wait, what?
Oh.
Yeah. Hi, Mashu. What?
I I was trying to restrain from doing that.
I mean,
Maybe
unhinged
no.
streams is the best, isn't it?
I've been trying to restrain from the wrong things, it would appear, because everything I restrain from doing this one does.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's because I can control you. But yeah. Hi.
You can't control me. I'm
No.
rather controlling you instead.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Hun.
let me prove it.
Stop.
Oh, sorry. There you go. Wait, stand still, yo. Oh. Thank you for the follow. Also, hello, it's Boosie.
Osby, I will take them
How you
away if they're
doing?
that irresistible.
Hello. Gay. Oh god. Oh, it's getting full in here now. Hello, Vion. How you doing? Thank you for the
took
follow,
them
Vion.
off. You took.
We hope that you will enjoy your stay. Oh,
I
what's your
said
day
I
so far?
would.
You took show beans
Hello, it's
away.
Boosie. I also hope you had an amazing day so
Hun,
far.
it's
Welcome
been
in.
turned off the entire stream
How you
because I need
doing?
to fix it. You just haven't noticed.
No,
Hey,
no
you.
matter, no matter. Hi me, I'm me.
I'm eating the beans. Farm.
Wait, somebody's
Tasty.
doing demon. Is that my name? That was Questy.
Questy, I said tasty.
I had 10.
The Reaper has come. Who is dying today? Who are you taking with you?
Me, please.
You're taking me? Apparently you're taking out my Twitch, it seems.
Rip. Hi, Dad!
How do you look?
Fluffy in my chat wants Death's autograph.
I'm doing good, love. How about you? I'm doing really amazing. And thank you for the follow, it's Woozy. Yeah, that you will enjoy your stay with us, and that you will enjoy all them beans and all the coffee and the other things we offer in the palace.
Coffee?
I
Yes.
found.
Hello.
You found the big camera.
Cue the Pornhub intro.
Oh no. No, hi. Well, hey there.
Where are your beans all coming from? It's already 10 beans, and I'm
Oh, hi. That's
If this really
I'm sitting down, runs out.
If this really continues, I'll be at 600 soon. Jesus, so many cuties.
Hey, I hit 420 earlier, like last night, and then I hit 420. Hi.
I've had
Are you just streaming now?
I have 10 adorable beans already.
Aww.
Join me today in our fun time.
Wonderful. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, hi, chat.
Pushes chat down the fucking pants. Hi, chat.
Wow.
Did you want to go with them somewhere, or?
Bah. Oh, hi. You getting comfy, huh? What, you see a couple of nutters you can't resist, huh?
Yeah.
What do you mean, eh?
Oh, look at me.
That's it. Uncrucify Christmas.
Who's gonna fall asleep first, do you
They're
think?
getting recorded for a specific site. The cameraman is here. The one who is invincible.
Tavi, if you're planning on taking any photos, make sure that everybody's visible.
Also, you know, at least you have it good. You're the cameraman. You never die. Unless you drop your camera, then you will die.
Oh. That's a big
Don't,
knife.
just don't be some pilot
Hi,
in some
somebody inside
action
of
film.
me.
Oh.
Oh, hello. Someone who I haven't got their avatar shown. I can't. Where are they? There they are.
Hello.
Oh my god, that's really pretty. Oh, hi.
Hi. Yeah.
Do I have to deal with two bottoms here? What's going on?
Yes.
So bottom and bottom, huh? How fast do things go out then with you both? Do you
I
need
mean, my
ours,
my
or-
owner is the common link. So.
Mhm.
I can't say I've had many experiences with Insane. Oh hi.
Hi, chat. This lifts camera up over.
Welcome to today's stream, everyone from WordChat. Today is Word's sleeping stream. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe. No.
Punch the bell icon, hit the subscribe,
Yeah,
like and share.
Like and retweet, yeah.
Like,
It's Woozy.
retweet.
Thank
I
you so
just
much for the
got retweet.
follow.
I have noticed that only 10% of you guys are subscribed.
No.
if you would
Make
mind
sure
hitting
to-
that bell icon so you never miss another video.
Yeah.
And don't forget to challenge it on to and then go.
Do it.
This video
Hi,
is sponsored by Ray.
709164. Yeah, I'm having a pretty good day.
Oh,
It's
hello.
not.
Oh,
actually,
hi,
It's
it's a
not
big
sponsored. We are not sponsored, guys.
That's a tail.
You need to say that. You know, you're not allowed to say that you're sponsored when you're not.
Yeah,
Just
like
saying, that
actually.
gives you trouble.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
okay.
So if somebody says something, we instantly have to say no, we are not,
Hashtag not spawn.
because they could otherwise go after us for falsely claiming stuff that's not true.
Okay, yeah, no, that's true.
Actually, no,
So, never
because
say
because
something
of
like
Go to Baja.
because of Twitch's current bullshit. If you want to ever like fucking give me money or something, just do my Ko-fi or get something off of my fucking throne or some shit. I don't care
I
if you
mean,
don't subscribe.
actually, I still need to work on my throne. I have a throne. I was invited by my ex. That's why I got instant access and didn't have to wait. But I never put anything in it.
I put a lot of stuff on mine. Mostly, hi, hello, hi. Can I help you? Hello, hi, hi.
I mean, there's many things one can.
So you know
And the
this
activation
camera,
process.
this big
What?
fancy video camera. Look over there.
What's over there?
Where's the...
Over there, next to the reception
I
desk.
can't-
I'll go in.
Which one? Oh, that one, the one that I can't see. Okay, that's fair.
It's time to make somebody fall asleep.
I have to be laying down for that. That's why I'm not laying down.
Ah, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to just make you fall over. You are Dora Queen.
Stop! No licking! No licking! No licking! No licking!
Wait, licking? Licking?
No,
licking? Licking?
no, 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 no,
Stop
no,
kissing
no,
his
no,
head.
no, no.
It wasn't licking. And welcome to today's stream of Bully the Word.
That's every stream.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
At least people can go after me at some point because I may or may not getting something.
I know what.
Nice beans, by the way.
Thank you.
Bird.
Oh, hello.
Hell? What?
Hello.
Oh, hi. Hi, that's a very sharp thing.
I got your belly.
You are actually making me drowsy. Like, actually, hun. It's not very entertaining when the streamer is asleep. Oh,
Let's go to space, guys.
goodbye! I always
That was
find
the
Fate
last
Upsets
time we
very
ever saw
interesting but also
Fred.
annoying when I'm trying to work with material. Hi. I'll speed on my camera.
You know, we're not gonna get.
I can feel what clothes I'm wearing right now,
Oh.
and I'm wearing a short sleeve t-shirt. I'll put it that way. I'm not wearing a fucking jacket. Is it nap time? I'm being
Can
grabbed.
be.
Who's grabbing? Who's grabbing me? Who's grabbing me? It's like a fucking room party. You have to ask who's grabbing
your
me.
time has come.
Okay, cool. Fuck yeah.
Your, your time has come, Verb.
Woo!
Oh, she flew. What happened there?
Hell is just kind of over here.
What possibly could have happened?
What possibly could have happened with them? They just suddenly disappeared.
Hi. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Oh.
So fair warning if you suddenly cease existing. That's a great. I'm gonna morb. It's a little sermon. It is 2 here. I mean, I'm gonna with these people here. I'm gonna fall asleep very quickly. Just bluntly. Wow. And back to we go to the sin.
It's called Half Wolf. Out I am, half wolf and half afraid.
No, I'm sorry,
Sadly,
Fluffy.
I can't really show any more the songs I'm listening to, so.
What the?
It's a deer.
I
There
is a deer that had no
idea.
I had no idea.
By the looks of things.
Huh?
It is.
Did I finally fuck around so much that I'm actually finding out now? Is that what this is? It seems it.
So, you see,
very quick-
you see. You fuck around and then you fuck a bit more. And then you find out what happens after that.
Oh. Hi, Baba.
I have a question.
Yeah?
Did Twitch change some settings?
Maybe?
Because I had somebody follow me, then write, and I guess they left the chat, and then when they came back, they instantly got recognized as a returning chatter. Like, they weren't gone for too long. Like, normally that should
that
only
explains
trigger
the
when you're,
quest
like, gone for
experience.
months.
Yeah.
This is that perfectly explains the quest experience.
We forgot the eye tracking, though.
No, we don't.
Also,
Wait,
where is the camera?
okay,
You
so-
guys are seeing too much down there.
Okay,
get you
right.
up.
So
Hi,
where
Pavi,
am I
how are
eyes
you
looking right
doing?
now, then?
Hello.
Hi, you're very adorable, hon.
Sorry.
Like me.
Sorry.
Cuddle time.
Okay, where are they
Cuddle
looking now?
time.
This
Lego
being-
is my favorite hobby.
What stream or has been?
I actually don't know. Can I
they're looking.
use this Avi or is it naked? I don't
Where,
know risk it actually.
where am I looking right now?
I'm just a baby.
Actually, I need to...
Okay, so I guess we do have eye
guys.
tracking. Tavi, we request that you die for the meme. We request.
It's always It's always heartwarming when somebody says, "Please die for our entertainment."
Yeah, so hi. Hi.
Don't show me. Don't show me. I don't know if I'm naked or not.
Okay, it's fine. Just point it at me.
Tabby, in the nicest way possible, please die.
Seems like I'm clothed.
It's always
I'm not
lovely when
nude.
somebody says, "Please die for our entertainment."
Oh, that's a Jax.
You must die for our survival.
Okay, I'm standing
Or
up.
we
Make the
need...
rules.
Okay, sorry. Can't pull it.
Unless that avatar doesn't have it.
Hi. I also have a Jax.
Oh, that's
Jax.
Yeah, you're.
It's a
for a
Rax.
moment.
This.
Oh, isn't it?
No, the
Is it
speed.
Jax?
The coloration is a Jax.
I
Oh,
Yeah,
fair enough.
that's old furry stuff.
I mean,
yeah.
look at this.
Everybody.
Look at this. You might gonna get a seizure from this, but look at this.
Tabby, you've got cake.
Right?
Yeah.
You wanna see the skin variations? Oh, I got you.
Why,
Oh.
God, what?
why has this Lego character got such?
Wait, that says off. I'm looking for my Jax right now.
Right,
Where is Solar?
that, Freya. Please tell me I'm not
Hi.
the only one seeing. Please tell me I'm not the only one seeing this. But has this Lego character got cake?
I
Oh,
see.
that's meant to be a tail.
I see
I
void.
see nothing.
I see
It's
nothing.
invisible.
Yeah. Wait, where is my?
I just don't know what to make of this.
I don't
What
know.
is that? I'm scared. What is what?
Oh, that's pretty.
I might have missed your messages. What is what? What did you mean?
That's pretty.
Oh, that's adorable.
Precious. This is my Jax.
Look at this chat.
So cute. Oh, look.
Yeah, that's a Jax.
Yeah, this is a Jax.
Look at this, guys. So adorable. So
Tabby.
cute. So fluffy.
Tabby, you are in fact entirely invisible. Just letting you know. I'm floating.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Hi, chat. Hi.
Donado. I have a cute bean arriving.
What? What do you mean? Why is there a pregnant lady running around? What? Like what?
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 I beg your pardon.
What?
Have none of you been seeing this? Did none of you see that?
See what?
Dusty, do it. Dusty, do it. Have none of you been witnessing?
Oh.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's a crasher.
What?
Did none of you bear witness to this madness?
No.
What?
That's
The
why
fuck?
That's
What?
why I'm both
What
the
fascinated
hell?
They
and
were doing it
disturbed.
literally in front of you.
I think you meant this most likely. Could that be, Sirlings? Because, yeah, I know what you mean now. If that is what you meant.
Oh.
Me
This
after being with you.
this woman doing
Shut
some
it!
sick breakdance while being pregnant, Dave.
You made my voice crack. Jesus.
I didn't say shit.
You
What are talking
said
about?
so many things that I
I know.
heard on. You're gonna find
didn't
out
say-
later.
I don't
feel
say
like I'm
shit.
here.
What are you on about? Lies. Lies.
Stop.
They're all lies. You have no proof.
Stop.
No
Stop.
evidence.
Hun. Cease and behave, please.
Isn't this the same? No, you're taller than me. Why are you so
Aye.
big?
What? Yeah? Hi. Why are you so bright? Why are you so shiny? Why are you so bright? Why are you
What?
so bright? You're very brightly lit in this world. We saw it. We saw it, says my chat. Hi, I'm gonna be a kitsune.
No, you didn't, chat. You didn't say anything.
Okay.
I'll pay you off later if you
Okay.
don't say anything in court.
Okay.
Now I'm taller again once more.
I need to put a shader on the back of this. For reasons.
You went quiet.
Yeah. Why?
Heavy? Oh, there we are. We're back.
Yeah. Yeah, my game is lagging. I'm probably going to have to close some stuff. Yeah, you were lagging. What was it you were saying to me earlier?
Ooh. How earlier? I can't remember.
Like
Oh
a
my-
minute or
wha-
two ago.
Oh, I was saying, how did you not see it? They were chaining into the avatar right in front of you. Where is that chain?
Because I was.
Hi, you're taller than me. Hi.
Why are you so tiny?
When you said Lego Protogen.
Intentionally,
tiny?
intentionally on purpose by choice.
Come on. It did.
Mm-hmm. By choice, you say?
It did.
Oh no! I almost fell over. Oh. No, that's a very
So you're
soft.
saying by choice, huh?
Very much
Yeah.
did not look like that.
Hi, chat. Hi, chat.
To be fair, there are better tail pieces available now.
Hi, chat.
Is that where my head is? What are you doing?
Oh, you're so tiny.
Did Osprey just offer you food to not have seen what you saw?
Hi.
He's bigger bottom than me. Oi! Oh!
It's lagging.
Are we good?
Is this even quest? Actually,
It is.
I'm gonna keep my camera pointed right at me. There. I can't experience or sin. I'm wearing a mask.
Hi. Hold up, what? Are
I-
you punching me? Little one?
Get away from her! She's on the ground already!
Ah, another quest. That's why I can't do anything. Hey, where are you going? How'd you go, Phone is dying. Love you, Kurt Floof, and see you in a bit. See you in a bit, hon. See you in a bit. Bap. Why you bap me? Why? Why? I did nothing wrong.
Osprey, you good, hon?
I'm just sitting down, guys. I don't know what you mean.
No, Tavi left. Tavi, if your stuff crashed, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for tagging along. I adore being in the VR chat with you. Thank you so much, hon.
Because I can. Moha. Bah. How dare. Rude.
Osprey, are you good? Like, actually. Wave hand in front of face, ceasefire if you need stop.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Making sure.
Very
Okay.
fine.
Okay. But yeah, how have you been? Sole. What you gonna do? I don't know. Boop you? Just the usual stuff.
I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna go over here because I know what's about to happen.
No, come here. Come here.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah?
Just come here.
Yeah, what's Oh, I'm
How you
crashing.
doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you, huh? I'm gonna keep it at this
I'm
specific.
doing great. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I have
it's
a-
been a pretty
I have
good day so
someone
far.
I have someone who's cleaning my feet, so that's all fine.
Yeah.
You know, the modern way of shoe polish, feet polish.
Yeah. Oh.
Bottoms.
Has anybody else?
But I'm hyped on sugar and bored.
That's a mood.
Understandable.
Where's my hip tracker? There it is. Hi. Hi.
Yeah, don't give me sugar. I'm gonna go like a rubber ball flying everywhere.
Yeah.
How are you doing? You doing okay?
Oh my god, hello. Hi. That's a gorgeous avatar.
It definitely is. Hello there.
That looks really similar to the wicker we got the other day.
Probably. Is a wicker?
The wicker we got the other day from thingy.
Yeah.
Come on. Down you go. Who said you were allowed to sit up?
Hi, Osby. Turn off the camera. Turn off the camera. I said, how long have I been? Ooh. The Minecraft Cherry Blossom update is cool. Ah.
Thank you for being my seat. Oh, that song. Phantom Sense by Whispers. Also very good song. Huh?
Phantom Sense on Whispers. Oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
Happy
Yeah,
happy Skittle
stream.
month? What? You mean Pride month? Why am I being crossed? I'm not Catholic. That doesn't do anything to me.
Wait. Ah, it's when I boop your snoot. Hmm. What if I
Skittleman?
do this?
Oh.
Hey, moderators. Hey, if you're making jokes about Pride month, I will say this is probably not the best place to do that.
Oh yeah. Neither in my chat.
Yeah. Big boy 42060 died.
Well,
Thank you so much for the follow.
I will only make one warning, then there's a banhammer.
Hey, I'm usually not that nice.
I mean, depending on what they're saying, it's an insult.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but don't.
I mean, I had people already in chat which at first seemed to be making talking bad about furries.
Oh yeah,
but
no, they
actually
they just
but they
clarified. Yeah, they just clarified.
Yeah,
Han,
like,
just to
yeah.
let you know, a lot of people might take that as heavily belittling like the only month we have for like anything. So yeah, just
the only month we can celebrate our success of stealing that rainbow, you know.
Yeah.
For which everybody is despising us
Oh,
apparently.
did you see the hilarious thing? So do you know the Ark encounter in Australia?
No, I don't. I'm from Germany,
there's
Bean.
There's this crazy evangelist that's
Picture
and
screen there you go.
he created
Oh
like
yeah, the
these
one who
two-
claimed that we should give back the rainbow because we stole it from God.
Yeah.
You mean that
yeah,
one?
essentially, yeah, Ken Ham. So in order to try and take back the rainbow, give it back to God, he used lights to cover his Ark encounter during June in a rainbow. So of course, I think we can all see how that got taken.
Oh yeah.
So it's like Pride Month at the Ark encounter.
Ban LGBTQ, but at the same time we're gonna celebrate it so we can get our ban through. It's like, dude, did you even make your research?
they never do.
It seems like a no.
Also, Midnight, I do apologize if that seemed like a
month.
lot, and that's why you're taking your leave, but just in the future, a lot of people will be a lot more vocal about their displeasure being associated with with corporatism. I'll just say, I'm sorry, hon, but a lot of people might not like that. Just chat, it's fine.
Oh my god, do you remember the bots when they were like constantly still there? Like,
Yes!
it's like, do you want to be famous?
And then they made new ones where they follow first, so you'll say their name out loud, and then do their bullshit. Yeah.
Wait, I've never had one of those yet.
I had so many. Yeah.
I had them in my Twitch DMs and so on. But you know what I also did when I was asking friends of mine if they need a moderator? I played a game with them.
Yeah.
Do you need more mods? You can get them at www.iapplyasamod.com.
Oh, because logically, the people you want to be mods are ones that are just hired corporately.
No, I was more or less seeing would they see the difference between "Do you want to be famous" message and mine.
Ah, I see.
Oh, that's
I
beautiful.
was messing with them.
This is
And most
very
people I did
rich
it
to be
to
honest,
just
this is
laughed. And then there also as a streamer I used to hang around with a lot of time. It's been a long time. I don't even have contact with him anymore. Yeah, that was literally just every stream I entered,
job.
the first thing I did was slap him.
Thank you so much for the hydrate.
So back then I was together with my ex, and at one moment during one of our streams I just said, you know what, be right back, I gotta slap somebody quick. And he was like, okay, wait, what? And I was gone.
Oh, wow.
Get up and stretch, you gremlin.
I'm
Beautiful memories.
comfortable, Ospie.
You know, my brain finished it differently, you know
Did you
that?
say that to chat? I'm right here.
I mean, yeah?
You know, my brain took this I am come.
Over.
Cute.
Nah.
Nom that ear.
That was the wrong one. I hit the wrong one.
Yeah, you hit maximum effort. Could somebody redeem Ospie's maximum effort, please, and the posture check, because I ain't getting up.
I hit rest with maximum effort.
Sir did that.
No,
Sir did that to me.
just using.
High energy
We're just-
resting.
We are just using Viagra to its full capabilities, you know, like laying back and just
I'm
passing
only
out.
at
Good night.
646 now.
No, Ospie has enough
I
points.
know.
Okay, that's fine. Power resting. Yeah, that's when you don't know how to relax, like me.
Hey, you. Bird, you're not power resting. If you're not laying down, you don't use Viagra the way you should use it. Think of it, Apple.
Yeah? Yeah?
I don't know what that means. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ah? One, two, please walk me through. Bert, do you know what this means?
What?
Do you know what this means?
Macarena, pepper shaker.
Oh, Tabby's back.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know that there's different times for that, you know. Actually, wait, give me that.
What? The...
No, it's on my knee. It's on my knee.
I am trying.
What is?
So
Look
what?
at this. Wait, don't do anything. Oi, Ethan.
The-
Ethan. Ethan.
Oh.
No, you don't see that.
Also.
Oh, Z9. Sis.
You don't see the apple on that?
I'll try and find the app. Where is it?
It's down there.
I'll go. Sorry. What?
Where do you think you're going?
I don't know. It's a nap time.
You're
Stop
moving just
walking,
faster than me. It's a very. Just here?
What?
Is it just here?
What? What? Stop!
Actually,
Stop!
Look at this. Look at this.
Stop!
Oh, wait, ticklish? Look at it.
No! No! Please. I need oxygen. Jesus.
Wait, do you? I thought we were robots.
No, I'm not a robot.
That's what I was trying to do.
Choose your flavor. What?
The flavor is petting that nose of yours. If you didn't notice yet.
I was trying to be innocently minded. I was going to say that, but I was trying to be innocent.
But yeah, Sole, just you wait. Almost 2 weeks left, and then chaos will ensue. Hello.
Hi.
Morning.
I'll be fine.
Hey, moderator, could you raid me out, please? Because I'm gonna be like a big asleep at the moment.
Wakey wakey. You know, when you gotta wake up somebody.
Anyone in particular who's online? Maybe. Bleh? No, please. Not until I'm out. Why am I being
Not until you're out.
Toad Slapper? At
Ma-
least not
ma-
on stream. One moment.
Oh wait, never mind. Zaya's online.
Zaya's online? Go.
You can raid Zaya.
Raiding time already for you or what?
We have brought her to the brink of Eep already.
And look at this, it's a donut.
Hi, Chad.
Yum.
What do you...
Not that donut. I meant this one.
Bye. Are we?
I can't see that.
Hi, Trinity. Hi, Trinity. Are we? Oh, just have a good nap. I'm gonna. Let me know when we're done. If you could just hit the button if you want.
Someone wakes me, I look at them and immediately back down. Yeah, I have a friend. So she used to sleep in VR chat, yeah, and she's like, somebody joins her. She gets up, looks at them.
Have a
She'll
good one,
say
everybody.
something, otherwise she's just gonna back down and go sleep. For me.